Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I rise to add my tribute to Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II on behalf of my Chelsea and Fulham constituents at a time of great sadness for the whole country. She was much loved in the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea, and as much so amongst my Fulham constituents as well. She came at least once a year to my constituency, to the Chelsea Flower Show. Indeed, the first time and the last time that I personally met her was at the Chelsea Flower Show in 2010, and then this year, just 3 months ago. The Chelsea Flower Show was one of her absolute favourite events. She rarely, if ever, missed it. She may have been to it more than 70 times. But in 2010, it was my first Chelsea Flower Show, and I was third in the royal receiving line, and I was exceptionally nervous. This wasn't helped by the receiving line taking around 2 hours, as almost the entire royal family comes at 10-minute intervals. It started with Princess Alexandra, I think, and eventually the Queen arrived, and all passed well. I had bowed in the right place and extended her my hand at the right time. We had a brief and charming and pleasant conversation. I could relax, except I had forgotten one thing. She wasn't the last of the royal family to come. There was still the Duke of Edinburgh moments after. And I realised my mistake, and I almost fell over, having messed up my bow, called him Your Majesty, to which the Duke smiled and said, "Are you new?" And I pay tribute to him today, to the late Duke of Edinburgh as well, the Queen's beloved husband. And the last time I saw her was at this year's Chelsea Flower Show, which she toured with great enthusiasm at age 96 in a golf cart. She was radiant and, as ever, fascinated by the displays, and it was simply amazing to see her at the age of 96. She was much loved by my Fulham constituents as well. Indeed, one of the iconic pieces of video footage from the 1977 Silver Jubilee was a clip of a group of women on Kingwood Road in Fulham, arm in Jubilee hats, singing all together, "Maybe It's Because I'm a Londoner." She will be grieved and warmly remembered the length of the King's Road, and as appropriately along the new King's Road as well. I also met her, Mr Deputy Speaker, in my role as the government's Deputy Chief Whip. Many in this House will know that the Deputy Chief Whip is also the honorific treasurer of the royal household, and the role comes with a wand of office, which looks like a long billiard cue which unscrews in the middle, referred to earlier by my right honourable friend, the member for Pendle. The day came in October 2013 for the transfer of the wand of office from my predecessor, Sir John Randall, now Lord Randall, to me in a ceremony at the palace. I was once again nervous. Once again, it all started well. Sir John handed the Queen the wand of office. She handed then to me the wand of office. But I started fidgeting with this wand of office. I found it a fascinating article as Sir John carried on speaking with Her Majesty. And I started absent-mindedly, Mr Deputy Speaker, unscrewing the wand of office. I had an alarmed look from Her Majesty and an alarmed look from Sir John Randall, who told me, "Stop it." And I was told afterwards, Mr Deputy Speaker, that if I had unscrewed entirely the wand of office, it would have meant rejecting the office, and it would have meant that Sir John would have had to come back here still as the government's Deputy Chief Whip. But that wasn't the worst. A minute or two later, the Queen suddenly said to me and Sir John, bear in mind this was in 2013, at around the time of growing European rebellion in the Conservative Party, the Queen suddenly said, "I do think Mr Barron has a point," with reference to my honourable friend, the member for Billericay. By now, Mr Deputy Speaker, I was a total wreck. The Queen was seemingly pronouncing on the greatest political issue of the time, and I had to give her an answer on behalf of the government. But fortunately, she saw my difficulty and clarified it was with reference to one of the honourable gentlemen, the member for Billericay's many other rebellions, reference to regimental mergers, nothing to do with Brexit at all. Mr Deputy Speaker, I conclude by just saying I think the Queen's historic significance, the length of her reign, everything that she's seen. In fact, she's met every US president except one. The fact that her first Prime Minister was Sir Winston Churchill, born more than 100 years before my right honourable friend, the member for South West Norfolk. The fact that Joseph Stalin was still in the Kremlin at the time that she came to the throne shows her historical significance. I pay tribute on behalf of my constituents of Chelsea and Fulham and wish many, many years of a happy reign to King Charles III.